Have you ever found it weird how Zangoose and Seviper will always try to attack each other? Me too. That's why I decided to go through the entire Pokemon Pokedex to figure out what Pokemon target other Pokemon, either unnecessarily or for other reasons. If you do not know how the racism tier list works, if one race, or Pokemon in this case, target another Pokemon, that would be considered racist. Unless, of course, there is a good reason for it, like defending itself, or fighting for territory, or just trying to find food. If that is the reason you're going after them, then I might consider that less racist depending on the scenario. There is only one small issue with this, and that is the fact that there is 1,000+ Pokemon, so I decided to separate these videos by generation, and even though I might combine some of the generations later since they are smaller Pokedexes, for now we're going to do the first 151 Pokemon in Generation 1. And I should mention that this video is just for fun, so don't take it too seriously. But let's begin. The tiers are going to be from anti-racist to racist. The anti-racist Pokemon are the Pokemon that do not discriminate by race, and they will actively help other Pokemon or people, no matter what they are. So starting off at the bottom of anti-racist is Chansey. According to Bulbapedia, Chansey is a kind-hearted Pokemon that will share its eggs with injured people and Pokemon. So that means that Chansey does not discriminate by race, and she actually actively helps people and Pokemon. Next up is Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan is known to raise other species of Pokemon alongside their own children. There's even records of them raising a lost human child. So that means that Kangaskhan is anti-racist for raising whoever and whatever. By the way, since there are 151 Pokemon, I am going to speed up a little bit now. Next up is Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur in the anime have demonstrated a nurturing instinct towards younger, weaker Pokemon, with one individual even using its vines to pick up a crying Pokemon, gently rocking it back and forth, while singing a Bulbabai. For the same reason as Kangaskhan, it is anti-racist. And I will be judging the evolutions differently from the pre-evolutions, unless if I have a reason to not think otherwise. This is actually one of the only cases where I'm going to immediately put Ivysaur and Venusaur here. They don't have any racist qualities, and I'm just going to assume that they are still the same as the Bulbasaur, and they will help weaker or crying Pokemon if they get the chance to. Next up is Ninetales, but you might notice that the pre-evolution is not there. This is actually because I could not find anything racist about Vulpix, but I could find something anti-racist about Ninetales, and since the Vulpix is not after the Ninetales, I decided to leave the pre-evolution in not racist, just because there's no evidence of the Vulpix being anti-racist. But comment what you think I should do with the pre-evolution and evolution issue. Basically how I'm doing it is, I will do the pre-evolution on its own, and then I will base the evolutions ranking based off of the pre-evolution plus the evolution, if that made sense. The evolutions ranking is not going to affect the pre-evolution, but the pre-evolution will affect the evolutions ranking. That's a better way to put it. However, I should tell you why Ninetales is anti-racist. Alolan Ninetales are known to help humans and save them from mountain accidents. This just proves that Ninetales will help people of other races. This will actually be the same for Articuno, Moltres, and Lapras. Articuno sometimes aids travelers and guides to safety, Moltres will use its wings to assist those lost in the mountains, and Lapras is a helpful Pokemon that enjoys ferrying people across bodies of water. They're all willing to help people of another race, and using the same anti-racist logic, Machoke is also anti-racist, and using the evolution logic, Machamp would be anti-racist. According to the Black and White Pokedex, Machoke happily carries heavy cargo to toughen up, and it is willing to do hard work for people. Again, it just shows that it's willing to help, no matter what race you are. Machamp doesn't have anything racist about it, so I'm just going to assume what's true about Machoke is the same for Machamp. And that actually concludes the proven anti-racist Pokemon. Obviously, if you're a trainer and you have a Pokemon, it's going to help you. But that might not stay true for every single type of that Pokemon. I should probably mention that the anime has over 1,000 episodes, so I'm very sorry that I cannot watch every single episode to prove that a certain Pokemon is racist or not. So there is probably going to be some contradictions, but I did try to read the Pokedex entry for each Pokemon, just in case the summary on Bulbapedia did not have it. So I'm very sorry if I miss anything. But a good thing about having the video separated by generations is that I can fix mistakes later. So if you happen to watch every episode of the anime and find a Pokemon do something racist or not racist, feel free to tell me, I guess. Or join my Discord or follow my Twitch. That is a much better way of getting in contact with me. But moving on to the not racist tier, these are Pokemon that are not racist, and that's it. Here we go. All the Pokemon that I have nothing to say about. Mew, Mewtwo, Dragonair, Dragonite, Dragon my balls on your he's racist. Zapdos, the Sleepy Boy, Aerodactyl, Kabutops, Kabuto, Also, if I butcher any Pokemon name, I'm sorry. Omastar, Omanite, Porygon, Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard, the Squirtle line, Caterpie, Metapod, Weedle, Kakuna, Beedrill, although Beedrills might work together with Teddiursa, but I'm not sure what the Pokedex is getting at that, so I don't know if it's anti-racist for doing that. Also, Beedrill is territorial, but it's not racist for that, it's just defending its area. Rattata and Raticate, Pikachu and Raichu, all of the Nidos, Clefairy and Clefable, Vulpix, even though technically you could put in anti-racist if you think a Vulpix is going to act the same way as a Ninetales, Jigglypuff and this thing, Zubat and Crobat, the Oddish line, Paris, Venonat, the Whole Boys, the Funny Ducks, Mankey, the Spinny Bellies, Abra, Kadabra, and Alakazam, Machop, the Sucky Plants, Tentacool and Tentacruel, the Fire Horses, Slowpoke and Slowbro, the Magnet Things, Tharpet, Fetched, and the birds with multiple heads. Seal but not Dugong. The Gengar line is somehow not racist. The Annelby, Onyx, Drowsy but not Hypno. The Crab but not its evolution. The budget Pokeballs that explode. The eggs, I don't know why you would ever think they would be racist. Cubone, Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Coughing. Rhyhorn, Rhydon, Tangela, Horsey, Seadra, Goldeen, Seeking, Staryu and Starmie, Mr. Mime, which I'm a little surprised about, Magmar, Tauros, Magikarp, Gyarados, Eevee and its evolutions, did you know Vapor? And I think that is it for the not racist tier. But basically, all of these Pokemon do not have any racist interaction that I can find, and not much more to say. So it is now time for the probably not racist. These are Pokemon that might target a certain Pokemon, but we can find a very reasonable answer. First up is one that I accidentally placed, and that was Omastar. Omastar preys on Pokemon like Shelder, but he's targeting them for food, which is probably not racist. So if a Pokemon is targeting another Pokemon for food, and we can be reasonably sure that they are just doing it for food, I'm going to put them here. Although this is a little bit subjective, so as always tell me what you think. And let's continue. Next up is Butterfree. Butterfree will fight with Cutieflies for food. It will also fight to protect Caterpies. It has a good reason to target Cutieflies, so it is probably not racist, as it is just fighting the Cutieflies to get the food that the Cutieflies are trying to get also. Next up is Parasect. Parasect will fight Shiinotics in order for territory. Just like Butterfree, it will go in probably not racist, since it is just defending for territory. And yeah, I know that Parasect is technically being mind controlled by a mushroom, but the mushroom is telling it to be partially racist. Next up is Ekans. Ekans will target Pidgey and Spearow nests, but also will attack other prey. I will actually be putting them in probably not racist just because it seems to only be targeting Pidgey and Spearow eggs because they are the only regular birds in the first generation. I'm guessing that if Ekans were added in a later generation in a different area, it would probably target more birds, but just in case it is going for just Pidgeys and Spearows, I'm going to put it here. Next up is Sandshrew, and I will be putting Sandslash next to it because Sandslash has nothing racist about it, so it would just be next to its pre-evolution. Sandshrew will spend much of its time underground, and it will only emerge to lunge at bug-type Pokemon. The Sandshrew is being racist towards bug types, but it's being racist towards them for food. Maybe Sandshrew is not able to eat other stuff, so it targeting bug types makes sense. However, I will be putting in probably not racist, just because it is targeting them aggressively. Now, as it gets older, I think it targets more stuff. However, I don't have a tier between probably not racist and not racist, which I just realized I put no racist instead of not racist. Whoops, my bad. So I feel weird putting Sandslash in not racist when its pre-evolution is racist towards bug types, kind of, not really. So I just put them next to each other in this one case. Well, actually, there's going to be one more, and that's going to be with Growlithe and Arcanine. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's actually a few more cases like that. But with Growlithe, it has been known to fight with Rockruff over territory. It's fighting over territory, so just like the other Pokemon, I do not consider defending territory from a particular Pokemon racist. However, since it could turn into racism, I will put in probably not racist. I hope you guys know what I mean by that, because that sounds really bad out of context. Real quickly, before we move on, I need to put Venomoth in not racist, because I forgot to. Next up is Geodude. Geodude is proud of its sturdy body and will bash against others of its own kind in a contest to see who is harder. It will even go as far as to compare itself to other species such as Rock'n'Rollas and Carbinks. Geodude was a very hard one to rank because they like to prove whose body is harder. Geodude seems to be a very competitive Pokemon that wants to be harder. than other Pokemon, but I don't see that as racist. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, since it also compares itself to itself, I was originally going to use the logic that it trying to prove that it's harder than Carpink and Roggenrola, that it's trying to prove that it's superior. But since it's also trying to prove it's superior to other people, I don't think it's a race-related thing, and I'm going to actually be moving them back down to not racist, which I should have done from the beginning, but I do make mistakes sometimes. And I was also going to put Graveler and Golem next to Geodude, so yay, the rocks aren't racist, which it should have been obvious that the rocks weren't racist. Why did I even consider them being racist? God dang it. This is what I get for doing stuff at 6 in the morning. I'm so tired. Anyways, Dugong targets things. Dugongs will search for food, such as Wishy-Washy. However, it is just going for food, and it does go for other prey, so I will put it in with the other Pokemon that just hunt other Pokemon for food, and probably not racist. Moving on to Grimer. Grimer's Alolan form is known to prey on Trubbish and Garbodor, but it also helps people deal with garbage. I will put it in probably not racist, since it does go after Trubbish and Garbodor for food, but it is fair to mention that it seems to help people with cleaning trash, which would be anti-racist, but it still targets certain Pokemon as food. Muck will be in the same spot for the same reasons. Next up is Shelder. Shelder is a very hard one, since he likes to go after Slowkings for food, particularly their tail. But then when he attaches to a Slowpoke, they combine to make a Pokemon? It's one of the more weird evolutions. Regardless, this symbiotic relationship is a bit odd, and I'm not sure exactly how to consider it. So I'm just going to go off the fact that it goes after Slowpoke's tail, and just say it's going for food and that's why it's targeting it. This is pretty much the same thing with Cloyster. Next up is Hypno. In Alola, they target Komala. This is to eat their dreams, but they target the Pokemon because they are always asleep, and I don't think it's to be racist, so they are probably not racist. This is further backed up by the fact that they go for humans also. Next up is Kingler. In Kingler's wiki, it doesn't mention that it targets Shelder and Cloyster, but Shelder and Cloyster are natural prey of Kingler, so it will go in the probably not racist tier, just like all the other carnivores that target certain Pokemon for food. I am unsure if Krabby goes after them, so I will be leaving Krabby in not racist, since it may not even be strong enough to hunt them. After that is the Throat Goat. After that is Licky, or whatever his name is, Lickitung. Sorry, I think Throat Goat is a much better name. Lickitung uses his tongue to reach for berries, explores environment, attacking, cleaning, and going after mainly bug-type Pokemon. In the Shield Pokedex, it also mentions that bug Pokemon are Lickitung's main source of food, so it's there for the same reason that Sandshrew is. After that is Weezing. Weezing preys on Trubbish because of its fumes. This is another scenario where they target a Pokemon, but not because they were racist, and instead it's because they want the fumes. However, breaking the chain of Pokemon that hunt a certain Pokemon for food is Ditto. Ditto is a funny case where he gets along with everyone, but apparently doesn't get along with himself. The reason that is because Dittos will try to transform into the other Ditto, but cannot, making it angry presumably. This is an odd reason to not like your own species, but since the reason that it doesn't like its own species is because he can't transform into it, and not because it's racist towards itself, I would say it's probably not racist. I bet a shiny Ditto and a regular Ditto would get along just fine. And with that, we will be moving on to the maybe racist tier. The maybe racist are Pokemon that are maybe racist. Most of these Pokemon are going to be kind of similar to the probably not racist Pokemon, but their reason might not be as solid as the probably not racist Pokemon. The first one to add is Pidgey, or it would have been if I didn't change my mind. Later in the video, I decided to remove the maybe racist tier because I felt like I was putting the Pokemon in there for the same reason that I put the not racist Pokemon, or probably not racist Pokemon, in the probably not racist tier. So I'm going to actually skip to when I delete the tier, but before I do that, I have to mention that I put Pidgey in there because it targets Seedots, but it's targeting them for food, and I also decided to include the evolutions Pidgeot and Pidgeotto. And then as for Spearow, I included him for hunting down Sunkerns, but again, he's probably just going for food, and I just put Fearow next to it because it's its evolution. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm pretty sure I should just move the birds down to probably not racist. And this is because I am kind of using the same logic for them being up here as all of these guys. So I'm gonna do something controversial. For the first time in tier listing history, I deleted a row. This actually makes the colors look a little nicer, so I'm not complaining. I think the reason I had the birds originally higher is because they kind of went out of their way to eat them. It's probably not racist, they're just going for it for food. Maybe it's their favorite food, maybe they taste good. Maybe I should eat a Sunkern one day. You can tell it's A in the morning, I'm so freaking tired. Why do I do this to myself? Anyways, Arbok, get in the probably not racist tier. What is wrong with you? In the wild, it hunts smaller Pokemon such as Wooper and also preys on Pidgey and Spearow eggs. It looks like the same thing as Ekans, so why did I put Arbok higher than Ekans? I don't know. Oh, I put it higher since it specifies Woopers. That's not a good reason. Woopers are probably just easy to catch. I like this better. I think this is a very good tier. They're probably not racist because they're just going after these Pokemon for food. Or it's Ditto and he just hates himself. Anyways, moving on to the most likely racist tier is Marowak. Oh yeah, I should probably explain what the most likely racist tier is. They're racist, but the reason is very good. It's just that we know it's confirmed racism. This will make more sense when I read you Marowak's backstory. Upon evolution, Marowak has overcome the grief of its mother's passing. Now ferocious and violent, Marowak is an adept combatant that uses the bone it carries as a weapon and a boomerang. Having evolved, it seeks vengeance on its natural enemy, Mandibuzz, which preys on Cubone because of its natural weak and timid demeanor. This means that Marowak is racist towards Mandibuzz. But if I'm going to be honest with you, if a certain Pokemon has been terrorizing you from birth, and you finally are able to stand up to it, you're gonna fight back. And I think that is very reasonable to be racist towards that Pokemon. Therefore, even though it's racist, I'm going to put it one tier lower, simply because I feel bad for the guy, and I don't blame him for being racist towards Mandibuzz. Anyways, moving on to the racist, yeah, there's only one Pokemon in that tier. That tier was specifically made for Marowak. First up is Meowth. Meowth will fight with Murkrow over objects and prey, which isn't racially motivated on its own, but there's another problem. Kanto Meowths and Galarian Meowths do not get along. Unfortunately, we don't know what this means until we read into Persian's Wikipedia. Just like its pre-evolution, it does not like the Galarian version of itself. As a matter of fact, it has active disdain for it. This alone confirms Persian's racism towards Berserker, but also it thinks very highly of itself, which isn't racist on its own, but it is coincidental that it has a high opinion of itself while disliking other Pokemon. Persian deserves to be in the racist tier for hating Berserker. This means that we now know why Meowth also hates its Galarian counterpart, which means that Meowth is also going to go into racist, because it explains his motive for not liking the Galarian Meowth. I could be doing something productive with my time, but I'm doing this instead. Next up is Primeape. Primeape competes with Ursaring for berries, but that isn't targeting Ursaring. However, it is natural enemies with Hawlucha, and I'm assuming they fight. Therefore, since they target each other, just like the Enderman and Endermite from the Minecraft racism tier list, Primeape would be considered racist towards Hawlucha. Next up is Scyther. Scyther becomes aggressive when faced with the color red. Moving on to Electabuzz. Electabuzz is sent into a rage by the color red. Moving on to Pinsir. In Alola, it has a rivalry with Vikavolt. Since Pinsir has a rivalry with Vikavolt, we can assume it targets them, therefore that would be racist. Although I should note that on one source it says that they just fight over territory, which means that it would be much lower, but since it says rivalry on Bulbapedia, I will commit to this placement. As always though, feel free to comment what you think I should do when or if there is a contradiction. And finally, for the racist tier is Dragonite. Dragonite will save humans from drowning and lead ships to safety. Oh, what a nice Pokemon. I sure hope it doesn't do anything racist. Oh. Unfortunately, even though it helps humans to safety, it is racist towards Kingdra based on our criteria. If it sees a Kingdra, they will engage in fierce combat or whatever reason. This is racist towards Kingdra, and therefore Dragonite must go in racist. However, there is one Pokemon left, and I've been neglecting this one because I don't really know how to approach it, since this one is based off of the real-life controversy of why Jynx was changed colors and all that. So to make things simple, and probably because you guys already know about this, I've just decided to make a Jynx tier and we'll just leave her there. But here is the finished Pokemon racism tier list from Gen 1. Feel free to tell me what you would change in the comments below. If you really think I made a mistake, join my Discord and feel free to ping me. Or if you ever see me live streaming on Twitch, feel free to stop there. Anyways, like and subscribe if you want to see part 2. Comment down below if you want to see part 2. And I will see you all later.